What's going on, guys? TKD1 to the review, and today this is going to be a review that we've all been waiting for since really this project has been announced. And you guys know I have said this album so many times, and I've talked about this album so many times on your channel, and here we are, finally, the review of Drake's More Life. Now we're just gonna go straight into this. We're not gonna do any I guess wasting time or filler or whatever. But I will say here, just preface at first, I did put a major effort into setting aside my bias on this thing, right? You guys all know that I'm a huge Drake fan. You guys are all aware of that. It's pretty obvious. And especially with Drake projects of all, right? Like I'm, a huge fan of The Weeknd, huge fan of, Miguel, Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? Like I am an avid fan of, a bunch of artists, right? But when it comes to Drake, it's kind of a different level here, right? And I, actively tried to separate my bias from this. And you're probably not gonna be surprised of how I feel about this whole album. And I should even call it an album, it's a playlist. You guys remember it's a playlist. And this playlist is 22 songs long. Now, it was a little bit shorter than the rumored 30 tracks we were gonna get. And obviously because of that, I'm pretty hyped about it. I didn't want anything too, grand or too gratuitous in terms of, the number of songs on this. But hey, at 22, it's a nice, it's right there. It's right around where, he usually puts, in terms of songs on his albums. And it is the biggest project he's ever released. His biggest prior being Views, being 20 tracks. This one's 22. And there's also some interesting things here about, More Life and Views when you compare them to. So this album goes just over an hour and 20 minutes, and it is actually only 30 seconds longer than Views. With that, having two more tracks on More Life as well, it just shies about 30 seconds above Views, which is kind of interesting to see. I'm saying? How like, when you look at, both of them and you really listen to them both, I felt that, this current project, More Life, was actually, it felt longer than Views. It felt like really, really big. It felt way more, had just way more content in it, and it felt longer than Views. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very weird that it's only longer by 30 seconds. Now let's talk about the playlist concept. Now, why is this called a playlist, right? And I read an interesting article here that I'm gonna try and find a link below. There's no, promises there, but I'm gonna try and find it. And what this article read was that, maybe the reason why Drake called this a playlist, right, is because the way this is formatted, right? So there is a lot of tracks on this thing. There's a ton, right? And they all vary in a lot of ways that I'm going to go into later in this review. But just talking, just from a, I guess, higher point about this, right? I believe, and especially this goes directly in terms with the article that I found, is that, he called it a playlist was because that's the way the industry is moving, right? Like the industry is moving in a way where artists don't really make, their monetary gain or their profits, based solely off of album sales. Really, the concept of an album sale is kind of dying here. And it's been dying ever since the rise of streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, and etc. You know what I'm saying? And so, with this playlist concept in mind, what this article points to is that Drake maybe is using the, moniker of a playlist to make it seem like, you don't really have to have an entire album that has one cohesive theme, right? And really, he's trying to fall in line this playlist with the way, the new generation, us, people that listen to music right now, like, loosely I'll say that, right? And how we taking music, which is we go on streaming services, we pick a song out of a project and then play it. That's just kind of like we more like to pick rather than have an entire library of something, right? And so, he begs a point here that maybe this is why it's called a playlist, right? It's not supposed to be, a overall cohesive theme and stuff like that. It's supposed to just be something that you pick from and you listen to and drop it. It is what it is, right? So maybe, that is where the playlist moniker, kind of lines in with, and I kind of loosely agree with that. I have other feelings about that, but it makes sense. It's called a playlist. It's not an album. Now, going into the album, let's get right into this. Now, top of the bat, we have a beautiful intro that flows in from Free Smoke to No Long Talk, and it is very, very aggressive. It's very much kind of, if you're reading this esque, what I'm saying, where it gets really, really, he just hits a punch, man. Like, it's great. And then we get into one of my favorite tracks, and I feel like a lot of people are talking about the track a lot, and that is Passion Fruit. It's very much the Hotline Bling-esque track It's great, it's vibey, you know what I'm saying? It's that R&B, kind of islandy Drake, kind of Jamaican-esque Drake that we get, you know, from time to time, and as of late, a little bit more than from time to time. So, you definitely do like Passion Fruit. And then going on, we get Get It Together. Now, Get It Together is really one of my favorite tracks. You know, it is in my top, like, I want to say 5%, you know, of this entire, project. And that is because Jorja Smith does an incredible job on this track. She sounds very, very good. She holds up very well. She's great sounding. It's just an overall great track, great performance by Jorja Smith. And I've never heard of her besides This More Life. So, you know, great job. Then we move on to my personal favorite track, which is Madiba Riddim. I know that's probably not pronounced right, but I want to pronounce it. And I love that track. It just has those great island vibes I'm a fan of. It's, you know, just R&B all the way. It's just, dude, it's a great track. It's one of my favorite tracks by far on this project. Blem is also great. You know, I haven't heard a lot from Blem, you know, in my crowd sources, or like, you know, heard really from my people that I talk to about music. But, you know, Blem is also a good one. I feel should be deserving of, you know, being on everyone's favorite list. And also Nothing Into Something, you know, that track, there's some deep illusions there, there's some deep things in there that we can also dissect, but, you know, it's overall a great track. I love it a lot. And then we go to the track that a lot of people are talking about, which is Teenage Fever. Everyone talks about that track. Everyone loves Teenage Fever. I love it as well. It's a great R&B track. It just, there's just a lot of things here that, you know, don't really have a lot of description other than just, you know, it's a great track, you know, and that's to be said. You know, so how you feel about it, you know, it could be different interpretation, how you feel, but just for me, in terms of that, it's just great. Then we have Lose You, which is critically being, I feel, slept on. I feel like a lot of people, you know, they hear it, whatever, but I feel like there are definitely a lot of deep undertones here in Lose You that I feel like you can definitely get a close insight, you know, onto the man Drake it is and all that good stuff. So definitely are some deep things in there. Then he gets even deeper with Can't Have Everything, where of course he's talking a lot about his life, talking about a lot of things that, you know, he's been referring to, whatever. And then at the end, one of the most interesting highlights here on this whole project is the phone call from, I believe, most likely is Drake's mom. Obviously, probably not confirmed, but I feel like definitely Drake's mom here. And she really echoes what Drake was talking about in that interview with DJ Semtex. I'm sorry, yeah. With that interview, you know, he echoes that he felt a little bit aggressive. He feels, you know, like he's been feeling a little bit more kind of uptight in his raps, right? And that is echoed through Drake's mom. So maybe, you know, Drake's mom could have been the you know, sole person that implanted that seed in him, that, you know, really made him realize what he was sounding like in his past tracks. And it definitely does come through in this phone call, and it's a great kind of little thing. And of course, what's a Drake project without a phone call? Really, like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is that? And then we get a highlight that everyone's talking about, that is Glow. Kanye West and Drake going back and forth is one of the, you know, best things I've shit. Like, it's just great. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna keep saying great. I'm gonna keep saying it, and that's just because it is what it is. Like, it's great. But you know, just having Kanye West and Drake, arguably, and to me, not arguably, you know what I'm saying, but some people arguably, okay, it's fine, that they are by far the top two in hip hop right now. Like, it is Drake and Kanye, and they are the top two, period, right now. And so to have them on the same track, and hopefully they'll be making a joint album, Wolves or whatever, you know, hopefully that is still cooking. Who knows what's happening with that, but just to have them here on a track is just absolutely just dope. And then we get Sense Way Back, right? Powerful performance on Party Next Door. Great singing, great overall, you know, just artistic view, and great, you know, singing overall. But the thing that really catches me with this is that when you go into the second half of the song, right? Like, when you go into the second half, when it's just Drake, that I feel is arguably his best singing. I really do feel that way. Like, I really did feel like I was, you know, actually impressed by his voice, because, you know, we've heard Drake live on, you know, SNL or on Ellen as well. Like, you know, and there's times where he just doesn't really sound good live, right? And that could be, you know, neither here or there, right? But, you know, when it comes in terms of Since Way Back, I feel like this might be arguably, honestly, his best singing he's ever done, period. Like, he sounds absolutely immaculate here. He sounds great. It's very good vocals from Drake. So, you know, props up to you, man. You did a great job on that track as well. And then we go to another track that, you know, it kind of fills in a place where I hoped that there was going to be here, and that was one of his time and location tracks, right? Where we had 9 a.m. in Dallas, 6 p.m. in New York, 4 p.m. in Calabasas. You know, like those tracks where it's just him on a beat and he's just going off and off on a tangent, right? And so, you know, with Do Not Disturb, I feel like it is very much in that type of way here, where it's not directly a time and location track, you know, on the surface level things of like the actual title, but you know, the actual content and the substance of the song, it definitely is in that same vein, and it's a great song. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that song. It's sad that people don't. I don't know why. Do Not Disturb is a great track. It also feels that kind of, if you're reading this, just hardcore rap, you know, that you kind of want with Drake, right? Where you just want him to rap, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna go more deeper into that kind of notion in a little bit here. But, you know, just Do Not Disturb is also a great outro at that, a great outro, a great message there. And, you know, he also has you know, it's just great. Again, now let's delve into the features right now. We get a new feature here that I personally have not heard of. I don't know if he's been around the block here in a few weeks or so, but we have Giggs. Now Giggs, you know, seems to be centered around the UK scene, and you know, he has great performances, right? He has a great feature in No Long Talk with Drake where he sounds so aggressive. Then we get KMT as well. One of the highlights as well, you know, freaking KMT is great. We got leaks of that on Twitter and stuff like that, you know, from him performing on tour in the UK and stuff like that. But KMT is also great. And he has that infamous line, Giggs, that has that infamous line that has been made famous here the past few days on KMT, which is Batman, like... Listen here, there are two corny moments that I'm going to discuss here in this that are corny and are amateur, but it's fine. It's funny, whatever. We're going to get into the next one here in a few minutes here, but just going on Giggs, great performance, great job on the album, good stuff. And then we get Travis and Quavo on Portland, and I wanted to save this, right? This is on my favorites list. Portland's on my favorites list, but I wanted to kind of give them in their own section because of the features on this. Now, Travis and Quavo absolutely freaking killed it, man. Like, oh my god, dude, Portland is great. Portland is such a good track, man. Like, if you don't like Drake, listen to this, man. Just come on, what are you doing? And then Skepta got his own interlude, which was a great thing to see. Skepta has been coming up lately through the ranks and everything, and he's doing a very good job. So he does a great interlude on this album, so I definitely feel like you should go check it out. It's great stuff, good stuff. And then the most surprising here on this whole thing, other than The Weeknd not being on there, you know, the second most surprising thing is that Young Thug, believe it or not, actually speaks English on this on this playlist. He articulates his words. He does a good job at it. He sounds good. He has great verses. It's good. It's good. Again, not my favorite, right? You know, Young Thug, it's kind of, you know, iffy with me. I don't really, you know, I call myself a Young Thug fan per se, but hey, you know, pretty good stuff. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? It's Young Thug. All right, do your thing, bro. And then of course we already discussed Kanye West. We you know, discussed P&D, and then we have 2 Chainz on Sacrifices. Sacrifices, you know, I feel kind of like it's one of those tracks that are kind of running the middle for me. It's not, you know, my favorite, not my least favorite, but it's kind of in the middle, I guess. It's not the best thing I've heard, but you know, 2 Chainz has a great verse in there as well. Obviously, that's to be expected. But I just felt like overall the song kind of felt a little bit flat for me personally. I didn't, you know, really. It's not a track that I think about actively after, you know, I'm doing a playthrough of the actual album. Like, it doesn't feel like it just got my hooks in me. It didn't really do anything for me personally. But 2 Chainz, we're great to see him on the album. We knew that from the jump. Great to see him. Now let's talk about things that I did not really like about More Life, which is, I have things I dislike about my Drake project. It's okay. My bias is not that deep, but No Long Talk. Let's kind of discuss this right now. I saw the Needle drop, you know, tweet all these things about, you know, Drake and, you know, specifically No Long Talk, right? And there's a lot of things that I didn't really agree with him in terms of Drake. It's fine, but this thing I absolutely 100% agree with. You know what I'm saying? That is the fake accent that Drake does in No Long Talk. Okay, the fake accent, right? I get it. I mean, I kind of get it and kind of don't, right? I would never do something like this. I feel like no artist would really do something like this either. Like, he has a weird UK-esque accent, like English accent, and he's trying to enunciate nouns in the, you know, in a clear and specific way that is pertaining to the UK and stuff like that. And I feel like, you know, I feel like he obviously didn't do it to offend, right? Obviously that's not his intention, right? But I feel like he just did it, I guess, to feel a vibe, feel a way, kind of just change his sound a little bit on the track. And I feel like it comes off a little bit corny, doesn't really sound that good, honestly. And, you know, even towards the end of his actual verse, he kind of just lets go of the accent and goes on to his regular accent, which is like, okay, if you're gonna fake an accent, at least you go through it the whole verse. Like, don't just stop, right? Like, don't just, you know, cut it off halfway through, because I guess you got tired of it. I don't know, but I feel like if that was let out, it would've been fine, honestly. It doesn't bother me, but at the same time, I just wish that he just did his regular accent. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that, how I have to, you know, say that, oh, I wish he did his regular accent. Like, what the hell? And then also a forgettable track here is Ice Melts. Ice Melts, I don't know what it is. Same thing with Sacrifices, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of falls flat for me. It doesn't really do anything for me specifically. Doesn't have my hooks in me at all. It's just kind of a track that's just there to be there. I don't even know, right? It just wasn't that good to me, right? You can disagree. You can let me know in the comments below if you liked Ice Melts, if you liked, the track with 2 Chainz and stuff like that. Let me know in the comments below. But just for me personally, didn't really do it for me. Now let's kind of wrap this whole thing up in a bow, right? Let's kind of just take it all in and give you guys my final thoughts here. Now, for me personally, More Life, I thought that we were gonna get a summer vibey type album, right? And there are summer vibey-esque things in this project. There's plenty of that right here, right? But there are also some really, really sad, really, really deep, really just somber songs as well in this, right? And I felt like, you know, with a title like More Life, I thought we were just gonna get kind of like a, you know, like a social experiment-esque type of project where, you know, we have them, they dropped, you know, around 2 years ago, and their summer album was absolutely great. And I thought that it was gonna be the same thing here with More Life. And what we got was not really that, you know what I'm saying? But it does have songs here that fill in that need, that like summer vibe, which is fine for me. But I kind of was hoping that we would get kind of a better summer vibey, springtime, you know, sunshine album to it. But who knows, man? Like, I know I didn't really get that out of it, you know, for me personally, but I just kind of wish we got a little bit more of that aspect. But then also at the same time, with that summer vibey kind of album I wanted, I also kind of wanted, and if you're reading this, part 2, right? We absolutely did not get this here. We got a lot of R&B here, not a lot of rap in this entire thing. Like, there's, you know, not hints, but there are songs that fill in that gap. Same thing where there are songs that fill in that summer, you know, vibe, feeling that I want as well. But, you know, it's not the entirety. It's not, if you're reading this, it's just not that, you know what I'm saying? And so I also wanted that as well from Drake, coming out of Views and stuff like that, you know. Primarily, if I were to choose, I wanted if you're reading this, part 2 more than anything, right? I wanted just bangers and just, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted bangers, man. You know, I wanted that, and it's not that, you know, it's a bad thing that's not there. And there's a reason I feel that, you know, with the title and with the songs and everything, there is an overall reason why this exists. And I've kind of boiled this down here. So I feel like the best thing about More Life is that it is a variety collection. It's not an album. It's not a cohesive feeling album. It doesn't have, you know, I don't feel it doesn't have any, you know, real ties to the songs in a way. I feel like it's really is a playlist, and how it's meant in the playlist, you know, in terms of course, there is the marketing thing where you can just pick and choose that duration of streaming, stuff like that, you know, that is also a reason. But I feel like a playlist, you know, this playlist of More Life is just so varying, because you can have, you know, turn up songs like Portland and KMT, you can have vibey songs like Mighty by Rhythm and, you know, Passion Fruit, and then you can have that hardcore rap like Do Not Disturb and Glychester. Like, there are so many different varying songs here on this project. You can also even dive into your feelings with Teenage Fever and Since Way Back Then. Like, there are just so many different spans of, I guess, life. If you want to get cheesy with it, if you want to get cheesy with it, you know, you can say that. But I just feel like, you know, there are just so many different varying tones here that makes it overall, I feel, great. It is amongst his best, I feel. You know, and again, you know, take that with a grain of salt. This is a Weeknd, right? I've tried to set my bias as far away as possible. I tried to leave it in the closet, you know what I'm saying? I tried to just, you know, leave the bias at home when I'm not listening to the album out on the road. But, you know, just with that being said, with my bias as far as I can be from it, I feel like this project is good in its varying ability to relate and to kind of attack a bunch of different things in music and a bunch of things, you know, in terms of Drake. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and share down below. I appreciate all of you guys see me. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.